time to go after the Trump administration because I am the author of The Armed Catholic, the Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense. I will put up my letter from the bishop telling me I couldn't use the name The Armed Catholic, who he's now the bishop of Galveston, but you know, you got to celebrate your wins and your losses. But Trump ran and he went to the NRA and he said, I'm going to be your biggest defender of the Second Amendment. I'm going to restore your rights as gun owners. And we all went, no, you're not. No, you're not. We're only voting for you because if Kamala Harris gets in there, she's going to enact a nationwide gun ban and she's going to go door to door looking for guns. Because they essentially were doing that under Biden. So Donald Trump makes big change at ATF as Kash Patel exits. And Kash Patel was one of these T-Pusa conservative bros who was going on all the big podcasts talking about how, you know, MAGA this and MAGA that, and this needs to be changed, and I'll do this, and I'm about the American people. Maybe he is in one point, but now he's there, man. He is loving life. You see him taking pictures with all these other guys. Yeah. Why didn't he just shut it down? Yeah. Nope. They're not going to shut it down. They talk a big game, but they don't do anything, especially when it comes to gun rights. They're terrible. They're terrible. And we know this because they nominated Pam Law and Bunny Bondi to be the AG, who's the architect of red flag laws in Florida. So you know that's not going to be it. And they try to, oh, well, there's an executive order to restore our gun rights. Okay, where the hell is that? What's happened? Nothing. Wait till you hear this story. It's ridiculous. Kash Patel is too busy running around, flying on helicopters with the FBI with his cool guy sunglasses to actually do all of the aspects of his job. When Donald Trump named, who wrote this? Cam Edwards at Bearing Arms. When Donald Trump named FBI Director Kash Patel as acting director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, the presumption was that Patel was taking on additional job duties on a temporary basis. Still, I don't think many folks were expecting Patel to step away from doing double duty after just a couple months of the job. And that's exactly what happened. However, Trump naming Secretary of the Army Daniel Driscoll as the new ATF acting director today. FBI Director Kash Patel has been removed from his role as acting director of the ATF, and the job has been given to the Army Secretary. Now, if you see this on this, the second part of this paragraph is nuts. ATF officials who learned the news today were shocked and confused. The two DOJ officials said as no explanation for the change was given. The Justice Department did not respond to our request for comments. Driscoll, who is 38, PR 39, is expected to continue his job as Army Secretary. Both roles are normally considered full-time. Sources say Kash Patel has not been inside the ATF facility for weeks. But he's out there with his cool guy sunglasses, pumping out Twitter statements. We're going to get these guys. We're going to do this. Blah, 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 blah. Epstein, I'll say what? And not that I care about the Epstein files. I don't. It's a promise that they made that they didn't cash in on. Oh, really? Daniels is a friend of a friend. Good people. Well, let me ask you this, Michael. Do you think he's better equipped than Kash to do the job? So Michael Thomas is like our it's like our secret weapon on this show. Hey, look, we found the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia. I've been there. It's like, what? So, like I said, Michael Thomas is the key to this show. It's not even me. So let's get to this. If Patel's absence from ATF HQ and his workload at FBI were the primary reasons for his departure, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to appoint someone else. He's already at the full-time gig in the administration as the new and temporary head of the agency, which makes me wonder how long Driscoll himself will stick around and who Trump might name, if anyone, as his choice for permanent ATF director. It's also unclear whether the other personnel moves that they may be making. On Tuesday, Bearing Arm said he expects Assistant ATF Director Marvin Richardson, who's been handling much of the day-to-day duties, will also be replaced. The fact of the matter is, this whole thing is a representation of how if you are somebody who values your God-given right to keep and bear arms, meet the new guy, same as the old. They can promise as much as they want. And I told people during the campaign, yeah, vote for Trump so it's not Kamala, but don't expect anything from him. Remember, Trump bumped stock Donnie. Trump was one of the authors of the first real legitimate pieces of gun control that had happened. Gun control you couldn't get under Obama, you got under Trump. So this idea that we're gonna appoint these people and they're gonna get this done, nothing's gonna change. You're not the one thing that may happen, and it makes me upset to no end, is the fact that Thomas Massie, and I love Thomas Massie, 99% of the time is put in this bill for national reciprocity. Let me get my thoughts out, and if you know me, you know exactly where I'm going. A bill for national reciprocity, because it's a constitutional right, is the single period, dumbest period, piece period of period, legislation period, ever, period. This idea that we're going to pass a national quote unquote law for reciprocity in the state of California and or New York and or New Mexico or Rhode Island or any of these states will acknowledge it is stupid, foolish, and gives the federal government more power. Yeah, roll into California saying, I got my national reciprocity bill. They're going to throw you in jail and make you prove it. This is stupid. It's stupid, and it's a waste of time. You should have gotten suppressors off the NFA. You should have got SBR, short-barreled rifles, off the SBA. Instead, we wasted our time with another, the Second Amendment is my permit nonsense. The Second Amendment is not your permit, because if it was, then you wouldn't have 44 state constitutions that have their own version of the Second Amendment in them. Because remember, states are supposed to act autonomously and not under the heel or the boot of the federal government. So yes, that's my rant there. This is just a right here, this headline. It is a view into the fact that the Trump team is flashy. They're all a reflection of Trump. They're flashy, they take photos, but in the end, not much really gets done. And let me be clear, a lot of time, a lot of us are okay if nothing gets done. The problem is magatards are going to just be like, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. But no, it doesn't solve it. How are you going to make California enforce it? How are you going to make California allow that? How are you going to keep people from New York or Oregon or Washington from throwing you in jail on a felony charge because you broke their state law? You can't do that. It's got to be one or the other. It doesn't. Crouch, you and I disagree on this one. It doesn't solve the problem. It's a waste of time, and it gives the federal government more power, because guess what? Let me game plan this out, and then we'll move on to the next story. Let's say in 4 years, when President BBL, shout out Brian and G Money, President BBL shows up, and now in order to use national reciprocity or U.S. constitutional carry, you have to abide by the California rules of constitutional carry. You have to get a permit, and we're going to make the testing the California version of testing. You guys think I'm nuts when I say something like this, but I can absolutely see the federal government saying, yeah, you have constitutional carry, but you need to get a permit for it. You need to get a U.S. permit to constitutional carry, and in order to do so, you need to pass the California qualification for it. So don't do any of it. How about you just leave it alone and leave it to the states? If California wants to ban it, don't go to California. I don't. But no, we're just going to shove these things down your throat. And, it's not a good look, guys. I just don't like it.